Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Spatial Web AI podcast Knowledge Bank. I'm your host, Denise Holt, and today we are discussing part 2 of why the spatial web demands a new protocol. And this episode, we are going to do a deep dive into HSTP, the Hyperspace Transaction Protocol. So let's talk about the difference between static versus states of being. Web pages are static by nature. They were created for users to interact with the individual websites and the information contained within them. Although you may be able to create, interact with, or change elements, content, information, and essentially do things within a web page, it all remains fixed within that website domain. At best, data can be made shareable across platforms through open APIs, but the data remains fixed at the domain endpoints. Web 3.0 requires something very different. The networked convergence of emerging technologies like augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence, coupled with distributed ledger technology and virtual spaces, metaverse or digital twin, while throwing in the Internet of Things, IoT, with trillions of data collecting sensors into the mix, generates many additional data points and conditions that need to be accounted for in a true AR, augmented reality existence. Undertaking this task of connecting every person, place, or thing, both real and virtual, while also considering states of being, conditions, and permissions, access, privacy, security, ownership, with continual updates in real time, well, this takes a completely new way of thinking. In order to connect and process such an enormous amount of information occurring within and between all objects, circumstances, and people. The smart technologies of Web 3.0, like smart spaces, smart assets, smart contracts, smart IDs, smart accounts, and smart payments, are only part of the picture of the augmented world we all envision for the future we are embarking upon. Without interoperability in real time, these are all siloed technologies with limited range and scope of use. An inclusive interface is necessary to join these smart technologies along with humans, machines, content, data, assets, locations, buildings, factories, workflows, imagination, and the context of real-time interaction across every one of them. Embracing and including previous Web 2.0 technologies and cloud databases. This is the Web 3.0 of the future. This will become the Internet of Everything. Enter HSTP, Hyperspace Transaction Protocol. Beyond location to include states of being. HSTP is a stateful query language that enables states of being to be captured in real time. According to Gabriel Rene, CEO of Versus Technologies and Executive Director of the Spatial Web Foundation, quote, HSTP allows parties to agree on who, what, and where anything is in space and what can be done with it. This new protocol enables IoT sensors to, quote, identify, localize, and update the state of objects in space over time. The spatial web is stateful, being able to track information as it transforms and evolves over time and use it for identification and predetermined outcomes. Through HSTP, Hyperspace Transaction Protocol, the data is generated by and between smart spaces and 3D locations, modeling objects in space in a very standardized way using HSML, Hyperspace Modeling Language. HSML is a logic system for universal governance that lets you format the space, identifying and defining the contextual elements or states of being, the who, what, when, where, and how any person, place, or thing exists or changes over time within a space or between spaces. The data produced within and relative to the various states and conditions occurring between these entities are captured, owned, and controlled by the user that is generating the data. This enables permissioned access, allows for zero-knowledge proof technologies, and ensures your data sovereignty. You own your data. You decide who and what may access it, when, and for how long, if at all. The new web, a universal knowledge graph. The spatial web is a library of spaces governing objects, people, places, things, under context control factors of locations, activities, and identities in various states of reality or circumstances over time. Spatial domains are like warehouses of spaces as reference centers with securely managed digital rights governing authorized access regarding who or what can access, modify, publish, transact, or interact with content. This web of spaces includes physical spaces, digital twin spaces, or completely virtual spaces. It allows for movement between all spaces, and it can consider all circumstances within each space simultaneously. The power in the protocol. Hyperspace Transaction Protocol has been created with many unique capabilities to handle these requirements. HSTP gives browsers the ability to link spaces with an ID for every person, place, or thing, both digital and physical, virtual or real. Much more than a location identifier, HSTP is a gatekeeper, allowing various parties the ability to agree on who, what, where anything is in space, who owns it, has access to it, and what can be done with it. Utilizing decentralized identifiers, DIDs, or smart IDs, every user, space, or asset can be uniquely identified as authentic and does not require the use of a centralized registry. Smart IDs prevent fraud as they provide for proof of origin, proof of identity, and/or proof of ownership, enabling users to define and control access to the complete contents of their digital profile at any time. According to Dan Mapes, president and co-founder of Versus Technologies and director of the Spatial Web Foundation, Smart ID on the spatial web enables SSI, self-sovereign identity, which means you own your own data. And you get to choose to sell it yourself if you want to, and even anonymize it. This also enables zero-knowledge proofs, which gives the user total control over what they choose to share and with whom, and for how long. For example, you might choose to share part of your medical record with a doctor, but that record can be programmed to disappear after 10 days or 30 days, whatever you decide. HSTP allows for query over multiple dimensions, identifying, localizing, and updating the conditions and contingencies of objects in space and over time. Wait, dimensions? What does that even mean? Well, basically, we're talking about any physical or virtual reality. Reality as in its true definition, facts of existence. If it can be defined and calculated in the sphere of natural or digital science, it can be searchable through HSTP. Take any real or digital four-dimensional space, 3D plus time, and look beyond the space itself. Consider what happens within that space over time. This includes any parameter of any object that changes over time, like temperature, motion, light, even force, weight, or levels of difficulty. HSTP supports credentialed search of objects throughout all spatial ranges, allowing for restricted or permissioned access based on any qualifications desired. Spatial classifications such as multi-source, like optical, temperature, motion, pressure, multi-spectrum, like minimum or maximum count, multi-coordinate, like changes in position, changes in state, changes in ownership, changes in emotion, or changes in behavior. Multi-dimensional, so environmental properties over time. Multi-vector, which tracks through time, circumstances, location, status, changing of hands, situations, change of values, policies, rules, money over time, even degrees of happiness or levels of satisfaction. HSTP allows for the permission search of all objects within specified bounds within space, throughout a wide gamut of coordinate systems, over a multitude of trajectories and dimensions, taking into account any conditions within or between them, any combination of any status of any dimension that can be defined, addressed, and computed. Perhaps the most important aspect of HSTP and HSML is that they open up our future to an entirely new type of artificial intelligence, one that's not based on big data, but on real-time data, which results in better decisions. HSTP and HSML together create a set of world models and then update those world models with real-time data from sensors and other sources in a way that is similar to the way the human mind does as it learns. Instead of machine learning and deep learning, a new type of AI becomes possible, which is called active inference AI. We'll cover this more in a future episode. The spatial web is upon us, enabling network effects across everything imaginable and measurable regarding the who, what, where, how, and why of everything real and virtual, physical and digital over time. HSTP equips us with a knowledge graph that can identify objects, detect the object's location in any space, while updating the conditions that involve and affect that object over time. The web protocol of Web 2.0, HTTP, was designed to connect pages on computers with the goal of sharing information between connected computers. HSTP, Hyperspace Transaction Protocol, along with its formatting language, HSML, Hyperspace Modeling Language, will enable a network of smart spaces, including all data and entities within physical people, cities, buildings, objects, and their digital twins. By bridging all smart technologies, this new network creates a smarter world by adding context and intelligence to every encounter for a seamless, interoperable, and unified system. The Spatial Web Protocol facilitates the technologically augmented experience of our daily lives in real time. Decentralization will ensure trusted and secure interactions and transactions for trusted records and transfers of value. These are the new protocols of Web 3.0. So this has been part 2 of a 4-part series titled Why the Spatial Web Demands a New Protocol. Be sure and listen to part 3 as we take a deep dive into HSML, the Hyperspace Modeling Language, which is the logic system for formatting the context of spatial domains. And if you missed part 1, you can go back and listen to it as well. Special thanks to Dan Mapes, president and co-founder of Versus AI and director of the Spatial Web Foundation. And if you'd like to know more about the spatial web, I highly recommend a helpful introductory book that was written by Dan and his Versus co-founder, Gabriel Renee, titled The Spatial Web, with a dedication to all future generations.